White men are most definitely under attack in this country, and that's not even an exaggeration. And what's also not hyperbolic to say is that if you can't acknowledge this simple fact in even the slightest degree, then you are my sworn enemy. Not only are character attacks on white men pervasive in social conversation, it can also be observed in things like entertainment and advertising. Because I can tell you right now, one surefire way to get me to not buy a product is if they feature interracial couples in their advertising, particularly if it's a non-white male with a white woman. Because the optical infringement upon white male breeding space is a psyop, and it's a psyop that's laughable at best. And though tactics like this generally fail in their objective to emasculate white men, it's the fact that they think that it can work that I find so deplorable. And though we're at a stage where these spiritual salvos are largely ineffective, they can be completely mitigated by us simply putting our foot down, and I think that's exactly what we need to do. Because I don't know about you, my brothers, but I've already made a commitment to do everything I can to ensure that my sons will not inherit a world where they are encouraged to forget who they are.
In as much as you're not having any respect for any sort of a black person, like you mentioned in your video, that's the same way no black person can actually have a sort of respect for you. Point blank, period. Respect is reciprocal. It was not just said, and it was not just a comment made. It is what it is. The more you respect me, the more I respect you. The less you disrespect me, the less I disrespect you. The more you disrespect me, the more I disrespect you. The less you respect me, the less I respect you. So respect is reciprocal. And for you to say you are literally going to also teach your children not to rely on a community that did blah, 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 honestly, I think is one of those psycho words I have ever heard. But anyways, who am I? Let's go back into the video so that we can actually get the response that his fellow white folks actually gave to him. And then I'm going to go ahead and roll out other clips for you guys as well. Welcome to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. And credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And with that being said, let's dive right into this video. I'll be back with commentaries. Let's go watch, guys.
The way that I can harbor any sort of respect for a black person is if they prove in some sort of way that they aren't completely obsessed with being black. There's absolutely nothing a black person can teach me.
All right, I'm not going to give this guy any more time of day with the rest of his video because he just basically goes on to say how he's racist, but how he thinks he's justified for being racist and how black people's experiences just don't matter to him because he's white, so it's all good. Dude, your privilege is cosplaying as being the victim right now, and it's sad, dude. It is so freaking sad. You have another video that came across my FYP where you said white people are being oppressed. My dude, you sound ridiculous. But what is really disheartening about this video isn't that he's a racist piece of shit. It's how many other racist pieces of shit commented on this video. The comments are full of fucking racist people. So, where a lot of people that aren't racist but are Republican want to be like, oh, this whole racism thing, it's made up. No, like, we are surrounded by racism. I know I'm a white guy, okay? I don't experience it, but I still, if I see a fucking racist, I'm going to call out a fucking racist. And you, sir, are a fucking racist. You can go fuck yourself. Hope this helps.
The only way that I can harbor any sort of respect for a black person is if they prove in some sort of way that they aren't completely obsessed with being black. I've been a grown-ass man for long enough to know that there's absolutely nothing a black person can teach me. I don't care to view history through your black lens.
Well, you heard it, everybody. The conservative white supremacist believes that we are obsessed with being black when we speak out against the mistreatment of black people. I have a feeling that he is not going to contradict himself at all.
I'm pretty thoroughly convinced that there's a special place in God's heart for white people, and there are times throughout history that make this abundantly clear. White men are most definitely under attack in this country, and that's not even an exaggeration. And this apparent notion that you're just not allowed to make fun of black people in this country just always reminds me of when you're a kid, sinners is an okay movie at best, all right? And the fact that it is such a subpar movie isn't what's most important. What's most
White supremacy in this country could not exist if it wasn't obsessed with black people. White supremacy also couldn't exist in this country if it wasn't obsessed with trying to prove that white people were inherently better. White supremacy and racism has convinced him that black people need to prove that we are worthy, that we are human, while at the same time that he's calling us obsessed, he does nothing but talk about black people and white people. But he's not obsessed because he's superior. We were raised in a society that was so obsessed with race that they had to create rules putting us at a disadvantage, only to tell us that we're the ones that are obsessed because we are fighting back against their obsession. Y'all have a good one.
The simple answer as to why woke liberalism is inherently evil is because it's in direct opposition to God, which is the focal point of evil's existence, is to oppose God through the systematic destruction of humanity. Basically, humanity is God's baby, evil hates God, therefore evil tries to kill baby, and in this case, sometimes quite literally.
There are many facets of this that are quite fascinating. In particular is how your typical woke liberal will fool not so much other people, but fool themselves into thinking that what they advocate is morally sound and in the best interest of the posterity of America. Now, and going back to the whole evil trying to destroy humanity thing, this is very observable within the woke movement. It's just that in their case, they tend to frame the destruction under the guise of reconstruction.
And they do this in such a way that they trick themselves into thinking that their revolution is altruistic, when actually it's just another self-indulgence of a largely spiritually empty and godless people.
Because whereas God knows how to fill empty spaces, evil tends to know how to take advantage of them. And that's exactly what you see with the woke movement. It's not the reconstruction that they actually crave, it's the destruction. Because how narcissistic and self-absorbed do you actually have to be born into a perfectly adequate system, only to convince yourself that it doesn't feel tailor-made for you, therefore it must be tailor-made for somebody else. And so you express this by contributing to its methodical demise. At this point, the only way that I can harbor any sort of respect for a black person is if they prove in some sort of way that they aren't completely obsessed with being black. I've been a grown-ass man for long enough to know that there is absolutely nothing a black person can teach me. I don't care to view history through your black lens. I don't care to be enlightened to your overly skewed, overly warped view of things like slavery, which is really just rooted in your need for an excuse. You know, the whole Anthony Johnson this, transatlantic slave trade that. I don't see what any of that has to do with how you are now. The whole, like, white people invented racism, it's just like, it's so below me, all right? Like, because when it comes to what we did invent, all right, we invented the railroad. We invented the internet. We're establishing the foundations of interplanetary travel. Like, I mean, it's just like, white people, we have bigger fish to fry than to sit here and listen to how you think slavery is an adequate excuse as to why you can't be trusted with a self-checkout line.
Hi. I need your compassion, and I need your understanding. You see before you an oppressed white man. You see, I can no longer call black people the N-word. I have people maliciously calling me a mayo monkey, and I know nothing about mayonnaise. I've got black people walking down my street acting maliciously black. I can't anymore cover my face in black paint and mock slavery. The problem is, that sounds pathetic, and it is, because I'm not oppressed. Why do I claim oppression? Why am I so eager to be oppressed? Maybe one reason is, if I'm seen as a victim, it puts the attention back onto me. It makes me, as a white man, the centre of attention. And obviously that's where it should be. Or maybe if people see me as a victim, I don't have to look inside. I don't have to see if there are racist attitudes. I don't have to deal with the way I was brought up and any inbuilt bias that has forged in me. If I'm seen as a victim or an oppressed person, I don't have to deal with my history. I'm not oppressed. And throughout this video I've said me. I put it back on myself all the time. I've been very careful so as not to project anything onto anybody else. But if you're white and you're feeling triggered, maybe ask yourself why. Could I actually be referring to you?
Believe what I heard the other day. Heard a white man on this app talking about the fact that as a white man in the United States of America, that he was no longer free to say the things that need to be said. Seriously? Look, as a white man growing up in the United States, I have never, ever been treated as a suspect. I have never walked into a retail space and had people follow me around because they were nervous that I might steal something. Everyone has always been willing to help me or to direct me to the right person to get help without assuming that my motivations were somehow nefarious. And never ever have I been pulled over by law enforcement and feared that that routine traffic stop would end in my death. These are things that black people and brown people and people of color and people who belong to marginalized groups in our society report experiencing on a daily basis. When white people in our society get upset when those that are part of historically marginalized groups begin to assert their rights to existence, acceptance, and equality, that should tell you everything you need to know about white privilege and white power in the United States.
Let's talk about my white privilege for a minute. I have never once in my life been persecuted, never discriminated against, never looked down on for the way I think or talk or behave. I am an upper middle class white dude in red America. I can walk the streets of my town at ease because I look just like every dude who thinks Trump is Jesus. So when I look into the next 4 years, it's not me or my family that I worry about. We'll be able to afford an economy going downhill. I've got a college education and a 6-figure income. I'm gonna be just fine. My wife is white, my kids are white, they're gonna be fine too. But if your thought process stops there as a white dude in America, you've got a problem. Especially if you're a white Christian dude in America. See, I don't vote for democratic policies for myself. I am actually less likely to benefit from all the things that I think are important for everyday Americans to have. So when I say things like, I think kids should not have to worry about lunch while they're at school, or that healthcare should be free for every American, I don't vote for those things because I can't afford them or because I don't have access. I vote for them because other people can't. And if you don't see Jesus in that mindset, I don't know what to tell you. It was Jesus who radicalized me. And it is because of his words that I am able to look beyond myself and empathize with other Americans that do not share my privilege. So here's the simple message. If you look like me and you don't care about the people that don't look like me, you're the problem.
What now? They want to be oppressed so bad. Why do these white men want to be victims oh so bad?
We have an opportunity before us with this bill to push back against it. The ranking member mentioned a sweeping attack. Yes, this is what we have suffered. We have suffered as a nation, a sweeping attack against equality. That's exactly what we're fighting against, oppression and degradation. It's exactly what we're pushing back against. This is a bill that eliminates government-sponsored oppression of individual rights, liberties, and freedoms. It is quite simply a strong response to the oppression of our individual rights, liberties, and freedoms as Americans, regardless of color or creed or political affiliation or where you stand upon the economic strata, what your background is or your heritage. All of us should be counted as Americans equal.
You consistently said over and over the word oppression, and every time that you said it, it was almost as if I was hearing nails on a chalkboard, because it seems like you don't understand the definition of oppression, and I'd ask you to just refer to Google to help you out. Oppression is the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control. That is the definition of oppression. And so as I sit here as a black woman who practiced civil rights, let me tell you, the reason that my colleagues wanted to make sure you understood the same black history that your side of the aisle wants to delete out of classrooms is because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. Don't let it escape you that it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed, that y'all are the ones that are being harmed. That's not the definition of oppression. You tell me the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment that you've had, and we can have a conversation. You historically have been the victimizer. You don't get to now be the victim, because we are trying to ensure that we are not participating in racist practices at work. We are trying to ensure that women and other racial minorities who have qualifications for a position are not overlooked, so that you can continue to fill positions with people who look like you. Because historically, that is what you have done. You have historically hired people based off of affiliation, based off of familiarity, based off of similarities, not necessarily based off of qualifications, because 45, Felon 47 was never qualified to be anybody's leader, president, or anything like that. I wouldn't trust that man to be responsible for tying the shoes of toddlers, okay? Yet he was able to rise to a position because of his looks and what he sounds like and what he says, and it's familiar to you and it's something that's similar to you. It had nothing to do with his qualifications and being qualified to maintain such a role. So I am just like super frustrated, and I'm super over it. I'm tired of y'all trying to be victims oh so bad. You're not a victim. And that's what Felon 47 ran on, is trying to pretend that he is a victim. And this man is not a victim. He is a billionaire who has treated people horribly in business and in life, but he wants to be a victim.
The country's immigration problem pales in comparison to the white male problem. If you were to take all of the white male dominance and violence out of the American equation, you would have a country that is far more peaceful than it is right now. If you think that immigration is the United States' biggest problem, you're not paying attention. The white male problem, especially when it comes to violence, especially when it comes to violence to women, is all white men. The numbers are insane. And yet it is the white man who is perpetrating all of the violence in the immigration conversation. ICE is led by white men, predominantly. Donald Trump, an old white man who is determining the consciousness of this country and swaying a lot of younger white men and older white men who were already, predators, and in the belief that because of patriarchy, they're entitled to certain luxuries, a certain way of living, a certain quality of life, a certain standard that is completely made up. We took this country by force, by blood. The last thing that we should be doing is preaching about immigration when this is literally a country made of immigrants. And when you see white men trying to sway the political process, try to sway public perception and say that immigration is the problem and that's why we're in this situation, what they're really doing is misdirecting you from the real problem, which is them. I'm a white man. I can speak very clearly to the entitlements that I have had that other people don't have even now. And if we aren't addressing those problems, we are not addressing what is wrong with America. And I'm sorry if you're a white man and you feel like you're being attacked, this country was literally made by white men for white men in the 50s, maybe before that, after World War II. That the model of society we have was made by white men for white men. That needs to change now. That needs to be acknowledged now. That needs to be transformed now, which takes precedence over immigration. Is there an immigration problem in this country? Sure. But let's deal with that after we deal with the bigger problems causing the majority of violence in this country.
Anyways, welcome back, guys. And you guys can literally even see from the video where his own fellow white man have to address him. His own fellow white man have to educate him and tell him exactly what he needs to hear. Black people, you don't want black people to be your business, but you want your business to be black people's business. You don't want black people to interact in what you're doing, but you interact in what they are doing. You don't want black people to meddle in what you're doing, but you meddle in what they are doing. And this brings me to my point that I will keep hammering and I will keep saying that most of these white people are the main reason why we are having issues in the society today, especially a country like America, because they have literally not teach their children anything but to teach them the negative part. Imagine his son or daughter growing up and seeing this particular kind of clip coming from the father. What will you think become of that particular child? And for a man to have the balls to come up on social media to be able to say words like this, it simply means he can say more than that to his niece, his cousins, in fact, to every single person that is younger with him. And I now see where the mentality of Erica Keck is actually rubbing into this boy's mentality, because I think that was last month I brought out a video where the late Charlie Keck's wife, Erica Keck, was literally gathering. Okay, she didn't gather. She was literally telling her fellow white people not to be afraid. They should literally stand on their ground, not let anybody intimidate them, blah, blah, blah. Knowing fully well that still at that turning point, black people were there saying all sorts of things like white people are the prize. I feel like that is where this delusional mindset of this man came out from, where he can literally have the nerves to say, oh, if you are you are black, like you don't see anything positive. That is actually what he meant. He don't see anything good. That is actually what he meant. So he will have preferred that every single thing is in his favor. Why for years and for decades, for centuries, black Americans have been suffering inequality in the system. The only thing black Americans are still fighting for till date is equality. And I don't know who still told this bro that they literally have privilege, because the privilege has been lost a long time ago. The privilege is gone a long time ago. Even the orange man right now can boldly stand on the pulpit and tell you, you no longer have privilege, darling, because as black people are suffering from Medicare, you are suffering from Medicare. As you are suffering from daycare, you are suffering from it. As you are suffering from Medicaid, you are still suffering from it. As they're suffering from food stamp, you're suffering from it. As they are buying gas, a gallon of gas, $8, $4, $5, you are suffering for it. As they're paying high grocery prices because of tariffs and East, West, and South, you are also suffering from it. So who told you still have that privilege? Who told you privilege still exists? Privilege existed then when there was segregation, when there were red line, when especially there was Jim Crow. Do you get? That was when privilege existed. Right now, I can tell you for a whole fact that a lot of people that have privilege right now are even black Americans. They are black Americans. They don't have privilege right now. Because go into the street of New York, go into the street of Chicago, going through the DC, you are going to be seeing a lot of homeless white folks outside, begging, pleading, want to survive. I'm not saying you're not going to see black people, but how many black people do you see there? And you still want to deceive me? You still want to convince me that you have privilege? Bro, I'm not seeing your privilege. Your privilege is not working at this point. What you need right now is for you to know how you can even beg black people to show you how to make money, to show you how you can strive, to show you how to stand. Because if you continue with this mindset that you have, it's going to be so very, very terrible for you. That's just the honest truth. You don't need to go on with this type of language. It's barbaric. It's disgusting. You are nothing today if not for black people. You are nothing in America if not for the struggles of black Americans. Black Americans have been in America. They have built America with their sweat, with their tears. They have built America with their struggles. Even when slavery came, they escaped through. So even when they were literally telling you as an American person, do not vote for this orange man. This is our reason. We've stayed here, we've lived here, we understand the system. This is actually what is going to happen. A lot of you played blind to that because why? You still think you have privilege. And that privilege, orange man started whooping your axe from up to down. And you want to still convince me you have privilege? Honestly, I'm not simply. I feel like me that is in Nigeria even have privilege. And some of this type of white folks that literally do not understand what privilege means. Because bro, if you understand what privilege means, you understand how society works, you understand what is actually happening, the disadvantages and the advantages, you won't come up to say shit like this. I'm so sorry to say. What he said is absolutely a no-no. And I'm happy that we also have some white folks that actually gave him the worst that he deserved, educated him a bit. Then we have my honorable black American people that actually schooled him as well. So these are the kind of fafo these people deserve. These are the kind of karma these people deserve. The moment they drop videos, we don't need to relent. Let us pick up the video and fire them back to back. It's as simple as that. Maybe they'll understand that better. But anyways, disclaimers, this is just for educational purposes, not to come here ruffle on anyone's shoulder, defame anyone, or make anyone feel uncomfortable. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you, liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I really do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And guys, subscribe, like, comment, and share. And thank you so much for sticking with me to the end of this video. With that being said, with no further ado, I do like I say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.